Welcome to the No Fear podcast and the No Fear live broadcast. I'm your host, Tony Blauer. If you're into mindset training, performance psychology, personal development, you'll dig this new format. No Fear Live is a unique broadcast, and it's different from the No Fear podcast. We decided to go live because we wanted to create the opportunity to interact with people like you all over the world, where anyone can log in and ask questions, and in some cases, you may even get invited into the show. The great thing about the live broadcast is that it's much more personal for the listener. That's you. Remember, self-defense isn't always about a confrontation with someone else. The first and most important fight is winning the one inside your head. Wow, that's crazy. I keep waiting for the show to start, and then I realize I need to start the show.
You're the show.
When I watch that. Well, you're the show today, Mike. Mike,
well, thanks for having me on too, Coach. Like I said, I know we've corresponded back and forth, but I've been following you for a long time, and it's nice. And we've kind of had this little thing on social media, and it's nice to actually talk to you. I've heard your voice through all your podcasts, so now I actually get to talk to you.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. And as we got to know each other on social media, like a lot of people don't realize this is the first time we've spoken, and we've been sharing kind of like echo chamber back and forth over the craziness the last few years. And, we then discovered we've got a couple of mutual friends in Rudy Reyes and Sean Mosen, and some history and some background there. And we're gonna get into that a lot. And I want to, for everyone listening, you're going to learn at the same time as I'm going to learn about Mike. Because really, what I liked about Mike and why I followed him online and why I consume his content is he shows up every day. And that's one thing I want to talk about, is that resiliency, that discipline, that dedication. He shows up every day. The unlike me, what you present online is always positive, always focused, always about fitness, and I think that's part of your your success and why you're successful with your clients. What's interesting, I was watching it occurred to me an hour ago.
Coach, can I just say, I'm not always positive. Like sometimes I have to remind myself I'm very grateful, but I feel like, you know what, maybe I could reach people more with the positive. There's so many ways to try to go, because I'm so with people and fitness, and I just see people sitting back not doing anything. It's easy to go at them, but I want to try to bring them in with a positive message and let them know that it's possible to get in shape at any age, whatever level you're at. So,
but I think that's genuine. I think that life is a roller coaster ride, and if something shit happens to me, with some other part of my business, and then I bring that energy and make a mean or more sarcastic post like that, and that affects who the followers are and what the message is. And so I go from food to politics to corruption to self-defense, and so my message is very mixed, and it's quite controversial. I'm impressed that, because your opinion on all the craziness that I saw was private between us behind the scenes. I couldn't tell by going to if you go to my page, you can decide if you hate me or if you like me. If you go to your page, you can't not like you. Like everything you post is about, that's what I'm talking about. So it's kind of, but we'll get into that. I got a bunch of questions for you, but I wanted to read something first to get the people. And before we pop up this picture, I want to remind everyone listening, because we're live on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, and a bunch of Facebook channels. And if you're on one of those channels, you can post questions in, in the comments, and Mike can answer them, or I can answer them. And today's talk, what my goal in the No Fear Live is, I mean, everyone knows that I've got the No Fear podcast, and that's just one-on-one. And the conversation is very much going to be like that, Mike. But what I love about StreamYard and going live is this idea that we can interact with people all over the world if they want to ask a question. So
let's do it.
The neat thing here is my goal is to bring interesting, cool people who are experienced. Mike's been in the fitness and self-defense martial art world for like 47 years. You're 64 now?
I'm 64. My daughter said you should round off to the higher number. I'm like, I'll stay at 64.
It's funny because when I see pictures of other 64-year-olds, they don't look like you, right? Like people don't,
I moisturize.
You do?
I don't know what that, like when I turned 60, people would come up to me and go, oh my God, you're 60 now. What does it feel like to be 60? And I would say, and not to be, I said, probably not what it feels like for you to be 60. I mean, right. I don't look at age as a number. I've been training people since I was early 20s. And I know people in their 70s who pop around and you see their posture and they walk around and they have the energy of a 30-year-old. And I see 30-year-olds now who, my life is over. Yeah. They can't go up a flight of stairs. They can't get up off the ground if they sit down. So to me, and as I've gotten older, my colleagues have kind of gotten older too. And I don't look at age, I always say, as like the number of candles on a cake. I look at it as performance and function. Mm-hmm. And I feel as good, and I do as much now as I've ever done. I mean, yeah, I look at my body sometimes and I'm like, oh, my skin is a little wrinkly here. I'm like, in certain lighting, I'll be walking on the street sometime and someone will, like, when I pass by, they're like, how old are you? And I'll tell them, and I always look, I think when they see me from far away or something and I'm walking, they think I'm younger than when I am. And then I get up and I go, oh man, that's it. But, what I want to tell people is, my whole thing is you can, at all age, if you want to be fit at my, what can I do to be like you at your age? I go, you start at 20. I've just never stopped. Like you said, I show up every day. I don't miss. I work out 7 days a week. And people say, oh, you should take off. You do this, you do that. I just train.
That's the secret. I'd like to just I want to find out what type of moisturizer you use before we end the show.
After, I'll say.
Okay. But we got people from all over. We got guys also. This is fun. I love noticing this. I don't know if you can see the chat on the side there, the live chat.
I don't. So
yeah, don't worry about it. You're on an iPad, so you'll touch a button and disappear. But we've got as far away as South Africa, Texas, Scotland, New Jersey on here. So guys, when you log in, just punch in where you're from. I find that so cool and fascinating. I want to read something that you posted today, and I want to talk about a couple of things just to set the stage for you. But Elisa, why don't you pop up this this photo? Do we have one, just the pictures without the quote? Hang on a sec. Yes, no. There's a picture of you when you're, I think, 14 or 15 or 16.
I know which picture
of your
16 with the Polaroid camera.
Yeah,
and I know exactly.
You're jacked. We're going to stick it up in a second, but that's okay. Elisa, is that the only one we have? Because I just want the two pictures without the quote. So I'm going to read the quote real quick, and so this is something that Mike posted last month. Not that long ago, November 23rd, and I'm gonna read it. But it'll be much better if the photos were up there, and you can just stick those photos up there if you're having a problem putting the other one. I'll read the whole quote, Lisa, but I want people who are watching this to see the pictures. This is dramatic. Elisa's freaking out in the background, going, "What's wrong with the photos here?" We had this prepared, but we're having some technical difficulties here. So, Elisa, what are we doing with that? Just stick the other one up if you can't do it. I don't really care. I just want to read this. or I could show it to everybody. There we go. Okay. So on this here, Mike writes, I have never felt fitter and stronger than I do at this moment in time. I take no secret supplements and never have, and I'm on no medications. My secret, I've trained hard and consistently for the last 48 years, rarely missing a day. I don't make excuses and never let what I can't do influence what I can do. I don't judge a person's age by a chronological number, but by their performance. I've trained with people in their 70s who have the energy and enthusiasm of someone in their 40s. And I know many people today in their 30s and 40s who move and act like they're in their 60s and 70s, ready to give up. I train for performance and not appearance. And I believe if you do that, the appearance will come.
100%.
I love that. I've had many mentors and training partners along the way who've influenced and inspired me to be my best, and I hope I've done the same for others. So I was going through your feed. There are a couple of things I want to talk about. One is I loved the your little walk where both your children sent you messages that day about workouts they were doing. Congrats. How old are your kids?
So my daughter is 27. And she'll be 28 in January. And my son is born in 98. He's going to be 25 this year.
Nice.
And he goes to school in Boston.
Nice.
And I'm sitting here. I'm in St. Louis. I'm in St. Louis right now.
Okay. So, but what was amazing for people who need more context from that, if you go follow Mike on his Instagram, that's his main page where he does all of his social media, and you can reach out to him.
Yeah, I'm a very simple. I'm not like, I've never even been on Twitter. I've never been on LinkedIn. I got on Facebook years ago, and then that's where I've been. And then years ago, I found Instagram, and I still don't know if I know how to use the platforms and do things, but I use it enough for what I do. And it makes me feel good to be able to reach out, and I know I'm connecting with some people. And it's like what you're telling me here is, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe you read that. Or you see people read your stuff and they don't comment or maybe respond, and I actually really, I'm not going to lie and say, yeah, I want stuff to be seen, but I post everything for myself. The quotes I put up and the things, I'll look every day. I'm like, I'm just don't, oh, here's a quote. I kind of think, how am I feeling today? And I post kind of from that. And then when I do that, I kind of see other people go, I feel the same way, or thank you for doing that. And so,
yeah. No. So, for those of you who are in the fitness space, getting in shape. I always make this joke, and I was on a law enforcement roundtable last week for this big law enforcement training event, and there were like 4 or 5 subject matter experts on there. And one of the things that I said to everyone we're talking about is that we're all aging athletes, and we need to understand that and understand what that means. What I used to put myself through or do 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago is different. I also, not to turn this into a poor me thing, I've injured myself a lot, not hurt myself. I've injured myself a lot, and I deal with a lot of nerve pain, which affects what I can do and what I can't do. Having said that, this aging athlete thing was something that one of the guys on the show sent me a private message, and he just never thought about it that way. And it's something that you're big in, where you big on the healthy aging and lifestyle habits.
I always say, yeah, time doesn't age us as much as our habits do. I mean, people always like, oh, I have my parents' genetics, or I have this, and it's like, actually, what you have is your parents' lifestyle growing up. Is you followed them. Like you said, my kids were exercising because they grew up in the gym, and I never forced them to exercise. They saw me exercising. And then I think as they got older, they were smart enough and realized when they would go over to their friend's house and see their friend's parents, and they were maybe 15 years younger than me, and they were not as good a shape or as active. And they say, hey, maybe there is something to this exercise. And then and I love, and they do different things. My son is big into rock climbing. He does yoga. I didn't say you have to do this kind of exercise, but I will say, to me, I've done all kinds of exercise, and people all the time, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Strength training is the foundation, because when you're strong, then you have the confidence and you have the strength, you get the body awareness to maybe go try a yoga class, to go do a spinning class, to go take a self-defense class, you know? So strength training, and as far as longevity, I mean, it comes out every day. You can read somewhere that the people who live the longest, and they've checked them and have the lived longest, have the most muscle mass.
Right.
And
I was
so
gonna go there and say there's a lot of research and a lot of people. A friend of mine, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon,
I follow her.
you know, she's really big in the relationship between strength, muscle mass, and longevity and health.
And the grip strength and all
right.
that.
Yeah. So everyone listening, the message here is whatever your bias is, you've got to also add strength work in there. So
number one foundation.
I also saw something else that I wanted to, not much to talk about, but you put 3 or 4 segments of you doing some remote teaching. Obviously, it was a client online, and what I noticed from that, because I was teaching online before the pandemic. I'd been doing stuff on Cisco, WebEx, and Skype. What's your dog freaking out?
Yeah, she's like, I'm like, don't pee on the floor. I'm like, it's raining here. So go ahead, Coach.
That's all right. That's okay. Bring her into the show.
Whining.
So I was very comfortable with teaching online, but a lot of people suck at it. And if you start off any activity going, this is going to suck, it's probably going to suck, right? That's philosophically in line with lifestyle versus genetics. Like if your attitude sucks, the experience is probably going to be shit. And
you're creating anxiety. Like, you do it before you even start.
Right.
Like, I'm going to be bad,
Right. And
listen, I was nervous on this. I've been on live on news shows and talked, and I've done comedy on a show where I was live, and it's like, it's, you know what, in the end, there's a lot worse pressure to be under. I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen?
So why do you think you were nervous for this?
Just I've been doing this for so long. I find it, and they'll message me, "Oh, you're so full of shit," but I find it hard sometimes to talk about myself like that. Oh, I did this, I did that, I did this.
That's cool. Yeah, that's good self-awareness, and that's where it starts. Is if that's what it is, then I think as a little tip moving forward in this conversation, and if you get the opportunity to do this again, is recognize that for 47 years you've been in fitness and strength and conditioning and body movement and martial arts, and you'll notice on there's people that I follow, and when they're writing, they're writing to shine a spotlight on themselves versus saying, this is what I did and you can do this too. It's a model. It's almost like your the quote that you joked around about, just because you eat rolls doesn't make you a role model, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's cute and endearing that you're nervous because you think you're talking about yourself, but you're not. You're not like, hey, this is the Mike Diamond Show, and let me tell you how great I am. You're talking about your experience, and this is where I was going with this. So stay with me on this. Is when the clip of you coaching somebody online, you were almost more engaged than if they had been in your gym. In other words, I bet that if I was watching you coach somebody in your gym, that it would have had the same animation and the same passion, but you were aware that this was going through this two-dimensional medium, and it was almost like the Matrix, like you were trying to get in the fucking computer with them, going, no, move your hands like this, pull apart your chest, and you were doing the exercise, and it was wonderful. What I'm getting at is it was wonderful.
Well, here's the thing too. Look, I've taken stuff like we have not talked even before this, but you said things years ago that I've used in my training when I was teaching self-defense, like teaching elbows. And, instead, you'll teach someone elbows and they're doing the little chicken wing. And you're like, no, you've got to load up and chin down and hit. And you said one time, it's like you're grabbing your seatbelt and you're pulling it across. And I was like, that's brilliant. And because everybody learns different. Like some people, you have to really show them. So if you can give them, the cueing is so important.
Right.
Like I take yoga, and like if you're in a pose, you can't look up to see what everybody's doing. And different teachers are better. And it's not better, they're just different. And so, I always tell people, they go, oh, you're stealing this from this person. I'm like, you're a teacher. Everything I put on, Sean Mosen, our friend who we talk about, he said, look, I'm a teacher. You can't, why would I put it on social media if I didn't want to share it? And then hopefully people find value in what you're sharing.
Yeah.
And so, there was another thing I remember when you were teaching the self-defense to the CrossFit. I don't even know if you do that anymore. And you were, because a lot of these specific movements can be used. They're the same as in a punch or to throw a ball or whatever. And you put the stability ball or the slam ball. They have a target for an elbow. And I remember once I had someone, hey, can you do a self-defense class for this group of girls? I go, how many? It's not like the days, I'm going to throw 20 pads in my car and then I'll load them in. It was like, it's in a gym. Do you have stability balls? Perfect.
Right.
And so, I always say I've taken from everyone I've ever trained with. And I remember years ago, I read a quote from John Belushi, and he was like, hey, if you're going to steal from the best, and, I try to take what I learn and then you make it your own. Some stuff. And a lot of stuff I learn, I go to classes all the time, and I'm saying, you learn what not to do.
Right.
And I do sometimes maybe I don't give myself enough credit, but I'll listen to a podcast and you'll be saying something like when you were talking to Tim Larkin, I'll go, that's exactly how I feel. That's what I say. Or I'll listen to a fitness podcast and I'm like, fuck, I've been doing that for 20 years. I'm like, so it's like, what you're doing. And it's
Sure.
funny, they always go the imposter syndrome after 48 years. But, I wish I had the confidence that some people who shouldn't have the confidence have. But
right. This is true. We'll talk about imposter syndrome another time, but it's a if you peel the onion in any element of fear and you shine a light on it, you realize it's not what it is. It's and it's ironically right in front of our noses when people say that. I had one of my trainers going over to the UK to teach, and he had never been a cop, and he's big, strong martial artist, Wing Chun, Thai boxing, spear for 10 years, runs across, his gym it's a dojo, kickboxing place and a CrossFit place, super strong guy, big guy, been teaching for decades. And he told me he was super nervous and alluding to this imposter syndrome. And I told him, I said, why don't you start the class with this? And we're doing a Zoom like pre-brief before he's about to take off. I said, you've got your lesson plan, you've got the keynote, we've got these 80 pages, it's 4 days of work, it's all these drills that you're highly proficient in, or I would never ask you to go teach on behalf as an ambassador of my reputation overseas. And I said, I want you to ask the group who the most experienced guy in the room is, who the most experienced operator, SWAT guy is in the room. And everyone's going to know, right? Because there's going to be a guy there who's legendary. He was in a gunfight or a knife fight, or he's been on the SWAT team the longest or whatever. They'll point to this guy, and I want you to invite him up, show him the lesson plan for the week, say, this is what we're going to do, show him the whole lesson plan, and then go sit down in his seat and say, teach the class. And my instructor looks at me, slowly figuring out what I'm saying to him. I go, what? He's going to look at you and he's going to say, I have no idea how to teach this stuff. That's why I'm in the class.
Well,
Right?
I from my experience, the people who are good at things make it look easy, where everybody thinks, oh, I could do that. You know, it's
Right.
like people, like, they see an actor in a movie and they're like, oh, I could do that. And then all of a sudden they're on a set and there's hundreds of people around and the pressure of, okay, go. And it's a whole different ballgame. So.
Right. So for everybody listening, and to make sure that everyone understood where I was going with that, is if you ever think that you have imposter syndrome, right? You need to find a way to peel the onion, to look at the bedrock of skill, preparation, and knowledge that brought you to this place. And when you catch yourself with those nerves or jitters, and I had this, Mike, when
I remember hearing you talk. You were going to go on the Sean Model podcast, and you said something like you were going to pull off the side of the road. You know, and I was like,
yeah,
wow.
yeah,
I mean, and you're talking because
the model health show.
What could Coach ask me? He's asked me, if he asked me about fitness, I'm just going to answer what I know from.
Right.
I always say I'm not an expert, but I've got about 50 years of experience working with great coaches, being in gyms all around the world, training all kinds of different things. I'll just give my best answer, what I know.
Right.
I mean,
yeah. So let's this will go by super fast, and I want to also, guys, remember, all of you, we've got South Dakota, Romania here, Denver, Ohio, and if you've got questions or comments, post them in there, and we'll get to that. But I want to ask Mike a couple of questions and make this a little bit dynamic and maybe dramatic. From a martial arts versus fitness point of view, what came first? Were you into fitness, martial arts? How did you get started?
I mean, as far as like studying martial arts, that came after, but I can remember as a small kid, it being 8, 10, 12, I was always in boxing. My grandfather, we would watch wrestling together, and I could still tell you names of the wrestlers and the holds they used. And I was, physical person, but, and I always played sports but I got into the gym when I was 15 and a half, 16. I joined a gym and I went and I learned the correct way to work out. I mean, up until then, everybody was just like in the high school weight room and lifting as much as they can. And how much can you bench? Nobody cared about squatting or other lifts. It was just how much do you bench and curls. And I was lucky enough when I was in high school, one of my good friends, he junior year, he was all state in football, and the coaches there said, hey, you have a chance to get a scholarship, but you need to get bigger. And he joined a gym that summer, and I talked my father into the $75 3-month membership. And, from there, I fell in love with it. But I can remember even before that, looking like back then, you'd look at comic books, and in the back, it was Charles Atlas and Dave Draper and, all the bull worker and all the fitness stuff. And I've always followed that and, was interested in, as a kid growing up in the 60s and 70s, TVs and movies was a big influence. And
Sure.
I always looked at the actors, like, I admired their, I wasn't even judging their acting. I was just, wow, look at the physique on that guy. And, I was more into that.
Well, that was, I mean, we're just a couple of years apart, but that era had a huge influence on me. The original Wild Wild West and
Well, I was going to say Robert Conrad. That was on at our house.
Yeah. And he was, really fit, but he was also martial artist, boxer,
yes. He was like his fight scenes in the Wild Wild West. And, there's things now, when you asked me to be on the podcast, I started thinking back on my life and things that influenced me. And you don't even realize when you start looking back, wow, that was a moment or that was a moment. I can remember, watching a movie and, because everything now is like your mindset. You got to have the mindset. And I can remember watching a movie of the week when so it was probably in 1971 or 72. It was a movie with Jan Michael Vincent called Tribes, where
Okay.
he was a hippie and he got drafted by the Marines. And, he was in such great shape then, you'd see when you go, wow, look at that guy. And there was scenes in there when the Marines were in boot camp and they had to hold these buckets out. And, the drill instructors are trying to break everybody. And they didn't like him because he came in as a hippie and he was always the strongest guy, all these tough guys in his platoon or whatever.
Right.
And they started talking to him. They go, how can you hold that? What is and they showed he taught them how to do it. Like while he's holding that and all they're thinking is this is really hard. It's really heavy. He's thinking about his girlfriend and he's in a field. And so that whole thing, I later on in life, you don't even realize, like when I used to do these obstacle course runs and you're running or go out for long runs and, I always thought there was two types of runners, those who associate and those who disassociate. Like there's people who are running and they're constantly thinking, move my arms, I touch you, they're talking, they're gauging how their body at every step feels. And then there's other people who are just in their mind. And that's how I was. And so, it was kind of a lesson from that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I was thinking too the other day, I remember what was big when I was a kid was Rich Man, Poor Man. I don't know if you ever watched that. Nick Nolte's first really big role. And there was a guy in there, William Smith. He played a character, Falconetti. And I loved, his whole career. He was in the Every Way, Which Loose movies with Clint Eastwood. I mean, he's prolific career. But he was one of the most in shape actors. And he played this bully, on the boat who was bullying people. And Nick Nolte was this boxer who was kind of like on the down low. And everybody was getting hurt by this guy. And Nick Nolte finally said enough's enough and went and challenged him. And you saw how just having some skill, you could be this brawler, and he just bam, bam, put him down. And everybody's like, oh my God, that guy's too good. And then, through the story, they found out that he was a boxer and all that. But so, there's technique and skill and so, I mean, I guess subconsciously, who knows, that kind of stuff goes into you and you don't know until it comes out.
Well, it does, and it's an interesting thing because I often talk about that. The spiritual guides or role models in my life were definitely, Robert Conrad and those shows and Stallone when Rocky came out and they speak to certain people. Bruce Lee's message, his whole story,
right.
And you just don't know what is going to touch you and inspire you, and then
Coach,
you're off.
Look how many people got into jiu-jitsu after the first UFC. They saw something on TV, that changed their life. I mean, it's the same thing. Like, so I was like Arnold Schwarzenegger. To me, when he came out, I read his biographies and his books and followed him. And, here's someone I've never met, but influenced my life. And like you said, Stallone. I mean, it's, and then those guys are still out there.
Yeah. Crazy. Let me ask you, I got a couple of things here. Your martial art training, was it an extension of your fitness or did you go deep down the self-defense rabbit hole?
Well, okay. So, as a kid, I did Taekwondo and all that. But so I was living in LA at the time. This is around 2001. And I found out about Krav Maga. Someone I was training was taking Krav Maga at the World Trade Center in Los Angeles. And, at the time, I was probably in my 40s. I mean, I'm always boxing, hitting the bag and doing that. But at the time, God, where's I going with that? There was
I was asking.
I liked it. Yes. So what appealed to me was, here I'm 40 years old and I was taking Taekwondo, a few years before, and it's sir, this, that, and it's so formal. And I understand if my kids were in it and there's a benefit, in it. And with as far as discipline and the exercise, and because kids don't get enough of that anymore. But the thing I liked about Krav Maga was it wasn't formal. There was no katas. There was no forms. It was just learning basic defenses against attacks that are, common in
Mhm.
today's world. So that appealed to me. And so that's when I got into that. And while I was training there, I met an instructor there. His name was Sam Sade. And at the time, he was one of the top instructors in the country. And we became friends, and I trained him. We became friends because we, had that love of exercise and working out. And he saw that I came to class a lot, and we became friends. And there was a time where he wanted to open up his own school, and he asked me if I would, partner up with him. And we ended up coming back here to St. Louis. And over time, we had the school for about 8 years, and we got into some conflict. And seriously, when I think back on it now, I try to remember what everything was about. And it was just one of those things that happened. But things I always looked at. It turned out for the best.
Right.
And so but so I trained from there. I mean, now I train. I started doing jujitsu about 5 or 6 years ago, and I do that 3 or 4 times a week now, and I love it. And I still do, hitting the bag, and I have a couple clients I train self-defense. But my main thing for myself is fitness. I find the teaching the self-defense, it's a big responsibility to do it. And I don't know if like I said, I think I know a lot, but I tell people you could find some good coaching somewhere.
Nice. Let's talk. Let's talk briefly about Rudy. How'd you meet him?
Well, I was training a guy here in self-defense, a good friend of mine, Dave Passanisi, and he became friends. I guess he met Rudy out in public somewhere. He recognized Rudy because, he was kind of, famous out there. And
Sure.
this was, God, I want to say 8 or 9 or 10 years ago, when Rudy came to visit one time. And then, here's the thing, the bonding thing is the workout. I love people who train hard. And, Rudy, not many people train harder than Rudy, and not many people train harder than my friend Dave. So we became, Rudy came into town, and we started training, and then we stayed in touch. And whenever he was in town, and,
He loves.
he
He loves you.
inspires me and motivates me. Like, I look at myself and I go, I've always been in shape my whole life. I've never been on any kind of diet or anything like that. But I would look at Rudy and I go, man, that guy is in shape. And he motivated me to really just change my eating a little bit, because I wanted to look better. I mean, you can't, like I would say, you can't out exercise.
I'm trying to. This is Rudy. How old is he now? He's like
51. I was at his party last year at 50. He just turned 51 last couple weeks ago.
So I've known him for years through all of our tactical stuff, but he's just an insane athlete and
there's nobody more passionate about it.
High level martial artist. I'm trying to find something else here. Loves kettlebells and everything else, but he loves the self-defense stuff. If you don't follow him, you should follow him. He's again another incredibly motivating, inspiring guy, former Marine, and just an all-around great person. But he loves you.
Yeah, he's having some good success now that finally coming. He's been on a couple shows.
Yeah, he's got
reality
show. Yeah, I'm trying to find another. This is him and his girlfriend Jade. He's a beast. Jade just actually did some training with us, and she came to a Be Your Own Bodyguard gig I did at Sorinex. But okay, let's pivot from Rudy to so I grew up in Montreal, Canada. I live near San Diego now, but we have another mutual friend in Sean Mosen. Sean's another one of those great coaches.
Sean Mosen is a guy, really. I mean, you meet great coaches and you take, like I said, from everybody. But my life really changed when I met Sean, and he kind of introduced me to kettlebells. And so what had happened was I became in contact, our school, with a self-defense instructor, Moni Isaac, and he lived in Toronto. And he had a style of Krav Maga that he was teaching, but he developed this system called Elite Combat Fitness. And he had seen me train before, and he had asked me if I would be interested in helping to teach his courses, his certification courses. And I was like, it sounded interesting. And so I flew up to Toronto to his house, and he had also invited Sean Mosen. And the two of us were going to put the course on together. And that's where I met Sean. We had like a 3-day weekend. We went through the course and learned. And to me, he's the most talented. He can do so many things. He can train so many things. But so we taught this course. It was a body weight course, and using things and tools, simple tools like medicine balls and partner training. But there was a section of the course where he taught some basic kettlebell. And, I was a student of weightlifting, and the history all the way back to the 1900s, 1800s. I always, followed that. And I have tools in my house now, like old medicine balls and old fitness tools that I collect. And I used to have kettlebells in my gym, but I never used them. Like, I thought they looked cool. I bought them and I had them for 10 years, and I do upright rows or do some curls or hold them and do a squat. And then when I met Sean, I really saw the benefit of what kettlebells can do, and the tool, and I'm learning that the tool is only as good as the person using it. And I was using it like if you had a screwdriver and you were trying to hammer in a nail.
Right.
I mean, the training with the kettlebell is so much more dynamic with the swings and all the cleans and presses and snatches. And I was coming from a fitness background and putting them into circuits, and I just saw such a great benefit, from it. It gave you like a compound workout, working a lot of muscles in a compact amount of time. And really, as a trainer, most people say I don't have the time to work out. So it's like,
Right.
I go, it's not about how much time, it's what you do with that time. And I'd show people, I go, give me 15 or 20 minutes. And, I was a trainer back in LA in the 80s, and like, you'd get a client sometimes and you'd go to their house. They didn't have any equipment. You throw in a step, and then what size dumbbells do you use? You throw in 2 pair of dumbbells, and then you're packing all this stuff in your car. And I realized with one kettlebell, you could go to their house and you could train your entire body. And I started doing things out in the park and boot camps, and my training changed. And I really feel it's always going to be a big staple part of my training. But I love body weight training. That's the whole thing for me. It's like, I always say the most important piece of equipment in any workout is you. You don't need
Right.
a lot of fancy equipment. And one thing, when COVID hit and all the gyms closed and people, I don't know what to do. I don't know. It showed me that a lot of people go to the gym and train, but they don't know how to work out. Like, if they don't have a dumbbells or a bench press machine or a lat pull down, they don't know how to work their body. And, to me, I can train anywhere, and I love improvising with things. It's like I'd come to your house and I'd say, oh, you could use that for this, or that's just how I've always seen things in that way.
Do you follow my buddy, Pat McNamara?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that basic dude stuff?
Yeah.
Basic dude stuff.
So you just made me think of him, because he's always doing stuff with rocks and bricks and pieces of wood, like you're anywhere, and he's a big shooter, but he'll get his workout in where, whether he's, lifting a picnic table or finding an old cinder block on the side and doing a kettlebell-esque movement. There's some really creative people out there.
Well, here's the thing. You said, oh, I post a quote every day for like 30 years to groups of people. But, I post a meme every Saturday, probably for the last 10 years. Hello, it's Saturday. Get your ass to the gym.
Right.
And I have a different photo. Some are me, I'll see people. I go, oh, that's a great photo. I'm going to get. And, what I tell people is I'm not being literal when I say get your ass to the gym. For me, get your ass to the gym means it's an acronym like your SPEAR system, GYM. Get yourself moving. Go to the gym, get yourself moving. That's, people say, oh, a fitness influencer. I'd rather be a gym influencer, getting people to get moving, because,
right.
I like the style of working out that I do, but it's not for everybody. It depends what your goals are. My workouts fit what I want to do for my lifestyle, but you don't have to do that much. That's what, I tell people. I'm pretty simple. It's pretty simple. People way overcomplicate it.
So let's talk about that and then answer some questions online. If when somebody reaches out to you and says, hey, take me on as a client, do you build the training around them and their needs, or do you go, look, like you just said, I'm not for everybody. Like, do you go, look, here's my thing. I want you to walk. I want you to run. I want you to do stairs. We're going to do calisthenics.
So here's how I say, Coach. I look at me as a trainer. I've trained all kinds of people. Like when I was in LA, I trained celebrities, like pro athletes, housewives, executives, studio executives, all kinds of people. I can train everybody. But I would tell people, I look at my clients like I have a car lot. Okay. So I have a huge car lot. I've got some Porsches. I've got some Ferraris. I got some Pintos. I got some minivans. I love them all. I love them all. But when I get a Porsche or Ferrari, I can do more. It just depends what you want to do. I mean, I train, right now I train a lady, 75 years old, and this is through Zoom. She's not, she just wants to be able to move and bend over and pick things up and have a lifestyle where she can be still active. She trains and she's in her condo in the basement, and on her couch, we do push-ups. She'll do planks. I got her a pair of dumbbells and a medicine ball, and we'll do the same moves, but it's a different intensity.
Right.
It's like it depends on the person. Like I said, I like to train hard, and I still train hard, but one man's workout is another man's warm-up. Right. I used to have clients come in and they'd come one after the other, and they go, "Oh my God, that lady works so hard," and I'm like, "You have no idea." But they only know what they know, and that's the whole thing too. It's not comparing to anybody. I mean, sometimes I feel great. Oh, I look. And then I'll go online. I'm like, oh, look at that guy. Look at that guy. And then it's just, I'm only comparing myself to myself. And that's the key. There's always going to be people fitter, stronger, faster. I look at myself and I go, I'm 64, and you showed that picture of me 15. I could show you pictures of 20, 30. I could kick the ass of that person at that age. And it's not just physical. It's not just physical. I put that picture up. Sometimes people, I'll have friends that have known me that whole time, and they'll go, dude, you look good now, but look how you look then. You should look better now. I'll start, fuck you. And I'm like, but, I've been fortunate. I haven't had many injuries. Last year, I did have some injuries. You're talking about your hands. That was one of the things with the self-defense, man. Holding mitts and getting pounded on. And I had elbow surgery about 10 or 11 years ago, and I healed back stronger than ever. I've never had a problem with it. Last year, I had some back surgery. I had some knee surgery. And I'll tell you, the doctors that I worked with said the reason that you healed so good was because you were in good shape coming in.
Right.
And I wanted to get back. When the doctor with my back surgery, he said, I was doing jujitsu, and, you can't explain stuff to people who don't do it or want to do it. They go, what do you need to do this? You're not going to get in any fights. Your age. And I go, that's not why I do it. I do it because of how it makes me feel, and I love it. And so, the doctor was saying, after this back surgery, you're not, you can't always do what you want to do. There's no more bending or twisting. Don't lift anything over your head. And I'm thinking, he's saying, this is bad. You should never do this, or don't lunge or squat. And I'm thinking, the only reason I'm in as good a shape as I am at my age right now is because I've been doing it my whole life. And you're telling me I shouldn't have been doing this because it's bad for me.
Isn't it crazy?
But every doctor's different. One doctor's like, yes, just keep doing it. So this is the thing we get into with the experts. One expert, will tell you this, and you can listen to the one you want to listen to. I listened to the one who said, go be active and go do that. And you know what, if I get hurt again, I'll deal with it at the time, but I'm going to there's certain things I've taken out. Again, nobody cares. Nobody's ever looked at me and go, what'd you squat today? They just care how you look and how you feel.
Sure.
And most people lie anyway. It's like, most people I don't want to say lie, I say exaggerate.
I think there's two things that contribute to people's success, certainly in this day and age of the internet eye candy, Instagram likes, is years ago, I forget when I first, I think it was after the first UFC, I wrote for 3 magazines, but I said, don't confuse the trademark for the truth. And what I meant by that is sometimes we get sucked into somebody else's result, and we think that's the only way to do it. And so I really liked what you said there. And I think the reason you're successful is your love of gym, get yourself moving. Your love of movement is contagious. And that's what keeps your clients focused and interested. And so, if somebody wants to look like this and they're into the trademark, no, I need my lats to look like this, or I want to do that. It doesn't resonate as much as what I feel from here is like listening to you. We haven't talked about grip, technique, stance, but I can tell that you're such a passionate coach that it creates this immediate trust. This guy cares, and this guy's got the experience. And if that resonates with you,
I do. Thank you for seeing that. And, I lived like I said, in California, and I've been around the movie business, and, everything is an illusion. I know that everything is an illusion. I took a kettlebell course with Jeff Martone. He came into town here, and he's like a trains a lot with military guys, and he's
just an old buddy of mine.
Yeah, and he did a CrossFit certification. I took a CrossFit certification for kettlebell through Jeff Martone. Just and truthfully, at the stage, I don't care about certifications. I care about learning and
right.
Just getting better, And so, but he was talking because at the time he was famous, and I bought his DVD, and he was on top of these bombed out or buildings with no roofs, and he's juggling kettlebells, and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then he started talking. He goes, that was an 8-hour day. I dropped the kettlebell 25 times. It's like you only see the good takes.
Right.
You're not putting on the outtakes. That's why you go to the movie and you stay at the end and you see all these outtakes. I can remember talking to someone, a friend of mine was a cameraman, and I was like, oh my God, that movie. So he was so great in that scene. He's like, oh my God, they did 200 takes. The director kept doing it. And you see the final take. They pulled it out of it, and that's what you get. And
I got to throw.
I understand that.
Yeah, I got to throw something in here. When I went to San Clemente, when I was living in Canada, I went to San Clemente to film the Panic Attack series for Panther Productions, and this is like 1985. And I was going to do an interview for Black Belt magazine. And I drove down to San Clemente to meet Joe Jennings, who is the owner of Panther. And it was VHS back then, no digital, folks.
Yeah.
Right. And some of you oldies on this call will know what VHS is. Others won't. Google it. And so I had this VHS demo tape, and I went in. I'm not going to mention the guy's name because he's a famous martial artist, but I never realized this. They were in the editing studio. I got there. Jennings says, here, come sit down. We're just finishing up here. I'll be with you in a minute. So I'm sitting there. My heart's pounding because I really want to get this contract with Panther. And there's this guy who is famous in the magazines, got articles, and they're showing different takes, just like you were talking about, Mike. But it wasn't like an actor doing clips. It was a guy teaching self-defense. And Joe turns to his editor. He says, I think let's use take 9. I think it looked the best there. And the guy goes, I agree. They do that. He finishes. And I'm thinking, 9 takes? What are you fucking talking about? Like all my stuff, like because I was trying to teach self-defense, I started with this premise of you don't get a mulligan in a street fight.
There's no perfect.
Right. But it's not, it's this idea, and this is important from the self-defense perspective. But also, when I got into rock climbing for a while, you would see the videos and you go, holy shit, these guys are amazing. But you didn't see the hours of falls. You just saw the highlight reel, like you were talking about. And it blew my mind. Uh, Joe Jennings looks at my video. He goes, holy shit, you guys are really fighting. And I'm like, yeah, it's a self-defense video. And the point of this is he booked me 6 months later. Me and my three of my top students flew to California, and we finished. What they did is they schedule one day per videotape. So the videos are 9 minutes long, and you spend a 6 to 8 hour day with breaks filming. So we were booked Monday to Friday to film 5 tapes. Wednesday at around 10:30 in the morning, we were finished all 5. And a lot of people don't know this unless I get into the conversation. Jennings on Monday morning, I was doing a footwork drill in a park in San Clemente. I rolled my ankle on in a little divot in the ground. So I rolled the ankle and I kept moving as my attacker was moving at me. And we finished the take, and Jennings says, "Hey, let's redo that. You lost your balance." And I said, "No, we're not redoing it. I lost my balance. I regained my balance, and I kept going, which is what you're going to have to do."
100%.
And he said, "But it's videotape. It doesn't cost anything to rewind it and do it again." I said, "I am not going to put out," and anybody here listening to this that has the old panic attack or any of my tapes, all of my takes are press record, go. There are 0 retakes. And it got to the point where I started telling people, what if I can't do it to teach you, I shouldn't be demonstrating an illusion of what you can do. And anyways, you got me a little.
No, it's I totally.
Yeah, it's we got to tell the truth. Let's talk a little bit. Let's pivot back. And so people listening here, is there any generic advice? Obviously, like if what Mike is saying is resonating with you and you're an aging athlete, obviously go follow him and go to his page and start to consume that. But are there any generic guidelines or things that you would want to share, just in terms of?
Well, just there's that one quote: "When's the best time to plant a tree?" 20 years ago. When's the next best time? Today.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get better every day, and if you don't do it, it's just gonna be a slide. And I can say from my own personal life, like right now, my mother, she's like in a nursing home, and she's like full-time care, and I go visit her there, and I see the people there, and sometimes some of the guys, they'll come up to me, "Man, I wish I would have worked out more. I shouldn't have stopped." And that's just the thing. I mean, I would tell people now that it's your health, and there's nothing more important than
Right.
your health. And you could have all the money in the world, and if you can't go to the bathroom, if you can't walk, if you can't feed yourself, it doesn't matter.
Right.
So and sometimes people go, "Listen, I could work out every day. I love working out." The thing is, you could work out every day. It doesn't mean I'm going to live longer than you. There's no guarantee. I don't even like to talk about it, but you can get in an accident, you can get some kind of illness. But I can say as a guarantee that my quality of life as I'm alive will be better. And as we've gotten older, it's not about longevity. It's about your health, and
Sure.
your health. What is it? It's not about lifespan. It's about health span.
Right.
And because you could be sitting in a room. I mean, technically, there's nothing wrong with my mom. She could, but it's not the kind of existence really that, you live your whole life to end up like that. And it's, there's people like in their 30s and 40s. When I was in my 30s and 40s and even 50s, I wasn't going to nursing homes, and I wasn't more aware of people that age. I always thought, I always said old is 15 years older than me. Like I would
Right.
look at people when I was like 40 going, "That guy's 60, that guy's 65.
Right.
I truthfully, and I got to thank all my friends who are here, who help keep me young, who train with me, my coach Serge, and just how many people. And I take that energy, and I that's it's your mindset. and I don't think old. I think I'm so immature. I'm just,
No,
you know,
it's great, man. I mean, I'll tell you this. I everything you say resonates with me. I'm a little bit different. I say this probably too much that I can't believe that I'm 62. And when like sometimes I'll look at myself or someone takes a picture and I go, I I don't even recognize myself. I see myself inside of that picture, and it freaks me out. I will say that um, uh, my mind, the practical jokes, the bugging my wife and my kids, they think
oh,
I'm so immature, right? I'm like,
totally.
I've never lost that. So all of that. I just wish my body moved like my mind moves. My mind is still.
There was that one quote. I don't, I've so many. I don't remember who said it, but it's like if you're over 40 and you wake up and nothing hurts, you're probably dead. And there's something, like people like, well, you should slow down, that's why this hurts. No, it hurts because I was doing this yesterday, or I walked 10 miles, or I ran
Right.
stairs, or if I was 20 and did that, I would be sore. But I also look at recovery and your nutrition and how you take care. All those things can help me. It's not just the
Talk
training. I
us
mean,
through that. So let's leave some gold for the audience, just generically. Obviously, guys, if you want something customized or dialed in, hit Mike up, go comment or send him a message and book some time with him. But obviously, like if someone goes, I can't figure out how to gain weight or lose weight, and if they don't understand, there's proteins, there's fats, there's carbs, right? And how to. So what are the staples? You obviously sleep.
I mean, for
Work
for
ethic,
me, sleep is probably my worst thing. I mean, people go, "Man, I saw you're up at
ditto.
3 in the morning," and I've been getting up at like 5 a.m., 4:30 a.m. for 30 years. I mean, I have clients at 6 a.m. in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, and that's just what I do. But because of my schedule, there's times during the day where I have time. I could nap. I can do other things too. My schedule's just different. It's never been a 9 to 5, but I'm not. I'm pretty basic. I mean, I look, you know, for me when I wanted to dial in how I looked a little more, you know, it's about there's no diet. I always kid around. I go, "What's the first 3 letters of diet?" Die. You know, die. Did I eat that? For me, I'm like, eat real food. I tell people, and it's not like I don't ever eat ice cream or I'll have a cupcake or something. I don't that often, but I've never ever in my life said I can't put this in my mouth. Oh, I better not eat this.
Right.
I'm moderation, and it's like going out and partying at night. I know I'm going to work out tomorrow. Like people sometimes, if they know they're coming in Saturday morning, they go, "I'll be getting to bed early tomorrow to work out." It's a priority for them. If you make things a priority, if it's important to you, you'll do it.
Right.
And for me, like I said, I try to eat foods. I'll tell people, keep it simple. Eat foods that have one name. Because if it's got more than one ingredient, then it's man-made, and it's like chicken, fish, steak. I mean, I love steak. I love fish. I'm such a creature of habit. I put stuff out on social media. I've had the same breakfast. I eat the same breakfast every day.
What do you have?
It works for me. I eat sardines, man. I love
Oh, wow.
sardines, and I, over the years I've eaten them different. It's like added different things to them, but I'll have some sardines with olive oil, cucumbers, little tomato, and little salt, and I just, I feel like it's a great way for me to start off my day when I have my first meal, and I try to drink a lot of water. Um, and it's nothing complicated with that. And then as far as like the recovery, I have a hot tub at my house. I'm in there every day, sometimes twice a day. I get massages. I like to, to get rid of that tension and soreness in the body. And I do a lot of, if I could tell myself, like if someone once asked me, if you could go back and tell your 25 years ago, how would you change your workouts, or what would you add or not do? The one thing I would add in my workouts is more mobility and stretching. Now I do that every day now, and certain parts are more mobile and flexible than others, but I would, I probably would have sacrificed some of the strength training and done a little more mobility. And I think you can combine the two together as well. It's not, doesn't have to be one or the other. And I do some form of my schedule now. I do some form of yoga, hot yoga, 6 to 7 days a week. I do jujitsu 3 to 4 days a week. I do strength training every day, some kind of strength training with kettlebells or body weight. I use suspension straps, and barbells. I use, and it's kind of what I'm on now is what I call, it's like instinctive training. I go in and how I feel. I train upper, lower body. I know enough exercise. And it's kind of routine too. You'll see people on social media and they're doing all this fancy stuff. I call it flashy fitness. You would never use that to get in shape. When I first started, I had a foundation of about 15 years of just doing basic strength training exercises, what you would call bodybuilding exercises, because that's what, in the 70s, that's what we knew.
Right.
I mean, in the 70s, there was no CrossFit or any of this high intensity stuff. It was like kind of a bodybuilding style workout or powerlifting or Olympic lifting. And you got your information. There was no internet. I mean, today there's no excuse not to be in shape. You could get on the internet and there's so many, any tool you wanted, any trainer you wanted, you could find stuff to train. When I first trained, it's like you'd watch guys at the gym go, he looks like he's in pretty good shape. What did you talk to him and see what he did? Or, there was a few magazines, you pick up the magazines and, but over the years, you really see the magazine, the exercises don't change. There was a quote, it's like, methods are many, principles are few. Methods always change, the principles never do. It's like, I do the basics. And people are like, I get bored. Do the basics better. Do the basics better.
Yeah, agreed. And it's the same for martial arts and self-defense. It's if you want to be able to protect yourself, it's just the basics. Let's do this because we're at 107 here. I want to, Elisa, can you pop up Jack's message from Madison, Wisconsin? So he's 54, works out 7 days a week, only 7, Jack. And his question
I
for
say
you,
I only work out on days that end in Y.
So he wants to know your ratio of weights, cardio, stretching, and yoga per week. And then is that a function of how?
Well, I think I said I do yoga every day. I stretch. I'll either go to the yoga studio or I'll train here. I have a studio in my house that I'll put on a video. I have like 5 or 6 videos, and I'll zoom in with my son in Boston, and we'll do the video together sometimes.
Nice.
So I do that, and I strength train. I have 5 pull-up bars in my house. So my house is like I have a gym in my garage. I have a gym in my basement. I have equipment in my dining room. I have pull-up bars, massage tables. I just, that's what I do. And so I'll do like pull-ups every day. I try to do 100 pull-ups every day. That's not even part of my workout. And I probably get that in about five days a week where I can do that.
Is that cumulative? Like you'll be walking somewhere.
So
you'll do
yes.
10.
So sometimes it's part of a set where I go, okay, I give myself 10 minutes, 15 minutes, or it's part of a workout circuit. And other times, like I'm sitting here talking to you, and I go, okay, I'll go in the other room, I'll bang out 15 push-ups, and then I come back and I'm talking. Maybe I'll have coffee's going, something, and I'll do over the course of the day. I'm so anal as far as like writing things down. I'm like so old school. I mean, I could tell you seriously, I have books. I could tell you every workout I've done in the last 25, 30 years. And It's not that I go back and look at them and go, hey, what did I do on December 13th, 2013? But I could find that log journal and I'll say, hey, this is what I did. I walked this amount. I was on the life cycle. I went to a spinning class. I did this martial art. And for me, it's something that it's not normal. But I keep track. I'm just,
it's endearing. I'm going to pop this one up here because it's kind of cool. I'll read it out loud for people who aren't watching the video. Gideon writes in, thanks gentlemen for the information. In corrections, the average age of life expectancy is 55. Your information helps to instill a warrior's attitude, not to expect this, but to do something about changing that figure, not giving into it. and to expect as
Well,
if that was your fate.
I'm looking at a gift from a client who gave me a couple of years ago on my birthday, and it's an engraved thing. It says, "If you change nothing, nothing will change."
Hmm.
You know, you have to, you have to do the work. But here's the thing about fitness. That what I love, you're the one that gets the benefit.
Right.
It's like everything you do. It's like I'll tell people, I go, if you have a job and you go to work and they go, okay, do this, the team gets credit, the boss gets credit. When you go work out, everything you do is on yourself. If you eat well, and that's how people see you. Years ago, I took a course with Martin Rooney, and one of the things, he said is, you're your own best business card. And people will come up to me and, hey man, you're in shape. What do you do? I do this. Is this a good exercise? I've started doing Pilates. I'm doing spinning. And I always say the same thing. The best exercise is the one you'll do. And it depends on your goal and your lifestyle. But again, you have to incorporate some kind of strength training. That's, if I could just impart that, I think that's the key, because there is nothing, and it's not just strength. The strength that you get from the workouts is not just from the weights and the repetitions. It's the mental strength that you did something like on a day, maybe you didn't want to go work out and you went and worked out. You're creating this thing. And sometimes on those days, I've always found, some days you go, oh, I didn't work. I didn't sleep well. I didn't eat. I shouldn't work out. You go work out and you'll have your best workout, And so, that's all.
No, that's a good rant, and we were just
it is a rant. I'm like,
but we were just talking about that in my.
There is no perfect time.
Yeah, it's your tree analogy or tree metaphor, tree quote. Planted today. One of my favorite quotes from Dan Gable, is if it's important, do it every day.
I love that quote. I posted it many times, and I sent you that quote. To me, I go, I'm kind of like, all these things kind of are happening at a certain time, and it's like I get on Facebook. It's like 5 a.m, and I look at my memories, and there was a quote from you that I posted in like 2011.
Right.
And I'm thinking, who would think I'm going to be talking to you on a podcast? I didn't even know what 11 years
funny?
ago, but I've used that podcast many times, and you've told me, and it's been modified, and most quotes are. I mean, people take things and then they paraphrase it or use it, but at the right time.
We'll share it with the group, just so they know what we're talking about. So my buddy Marco Lala, who's a very high level Kyokushinkai karate fighter, he was really pushing conditioning as to augment your technical skills, right? No doubt, right? So. And he had a line, you can't fake endurance. And I used to say, I would quote him on it all the time. I love quoting other people. My probably my most often repeated quote is one from Dan Millman, who wrote The Way of the Peaceful Warrior.
Love Dan Millman. I got the book right here.
Right there.
It's right there.
Yeah. But my favorite Dan Millman quote is, if you face just one opponent and you doubt yourself, you're outnumbered. If you face just one opponent and you doubt yourself, you're outnumbered. I think I say that almost every day to somebody, because a lot of people get into that. I don't know if I can do that, right? And you're betting against yourself. The mindset stuff is huge. The fear management stuff is so huge.
Well, I think if you're in shape and you feel strong, I mean, at least that's not going to get you through it, but that's going to give you some confidence. And, you do the self-defense, and it's like criminals look for easy targets and soft victims. And, if you walk around looking weak and like a victim, then you have more of a chance to get attacked. And the quote that you said was, you can't fake fitness. I have that at some point too, that you said. And, I'd always look, people would come into my school. I go, are you as fit as you look? Because there's people who look good and they'd come in and they'd punch like, you're like, holy cow, or they burn out. They go, I go to the gym and like they do a kettlebell circuit in 5 minutes and they're 10 jumping jacks and they're like out of breath.
Are you familiar with the Mark Ripito quote? Strong people are harder to kill.
Definitely.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
It is true. It's true. Yeah. And just in real, like I know people that have been in car accidents. They go, dude, you survived because that steering wheel hit your chest and you have a strong chest. You know, I mean, we were talking too about fitness and self-defense and the correlations. And you had said on the other podcast, I heard that, on the street, there's no rules. And when you get tired and there's no referee, there's no time limits. When you give up and quit, the fight's over. And you don't get to quit when you get tired. You quit when the bad guy's tired. So, people go, why are we doing so much conditioning? Why? Because that's going to make you tough. It's going to make you tough.
Yeah. Do hard things. Okay. Let's start to wrap this up. If anyone has any questions, post them now. Mike, I think we mentioned this a couple of times. The best place to reach you if someone wants to ask you.
It's funny. You go, what do you have a program? Are you selling anything? I'm pretty simple. Like I just been training my whole life clients. Before COVID, I would have people come to my house. I do 40, 45 sessions a week. People come to my house. And then COVID, now it's opened up some great doors for me virtual where it's opened and expanded. So I have clients that I've trained in California, in Colorado. So, it's basically just one-on-one. I'm coming to the point though. I feel like I want to do more, but, I'm feeling like the service and do things. I want to start posting more workouts that people can just follow along just for free. Just to get moving, little 10, 15-minute workouts. There's no excuse. I don't have time. I don't have money. It's like if you want to do it and you can do it. So I'm kind of going towards that.
Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you're going to get off the call and go, shit, I wish I had said this, or we talked about?
No, you know what, Coach? I just like how we talked. It wasn't like, what's this? How many certifieds do you do this? And, it's really just about, just healthy aging. Be thankful. Use your body. It's the most precious gift that we got. Jack LaLanne, I used to, he was one of my idols growing up, the Godfather of fitness. And he used to say, if I offered you $5 million to chop off your arm, would you do it? And people are like, no. If I offered you $10 million to chop off your leg, would you do it? No. He goes, you just admitted the most valuable possession you own is your body, but you won't take 20 to 30 minutes a day to try to make it better. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm no special guy. I just do the work. I'm not like some super guy. I just do the work. And over time, it just builds up. And
I love it. It's that bedrock, and it shows. You're a very humble man, and I love it. So, guys, we're going to put Mike's information up here again, just so you can see it. It's real simple. He's Mike Diamond Fitness,
and I'm on Facebook. I probably post a lot on Facebook. Just
do you? Okay, cool.
The same kind of stuff. I think maybe a little more, but I'm so out of it's like I have friends and they have younger kids and teenagers and people in their 20s. I go, they are not even on that stuff. So right. I mean, again, I post. It's like my own diary. It's fun to go back and go, wow, look what I was doing 2 years ago. Oh, I'm still doing that. Or, oh, I forgot about that. I should try that again. Or maybe call this person. It's like my own personal diary. And if people can gain anything from it, then I feel so blessed, really, because it's just it's the things that you get from this are worth way more than money.
Yeah.
From helping people.
No, it's amazing. And it's one of the things, and I'm hoping my son watches this. He's in fitness, he's a coach, but just to absorb that honesty and the transparency and the vulnerability, because that's how you get successful. In this day and age, we think success is likes and how many viewers and this and that, and it's really about doing the work and inspiring.
I could just give you one more example. It's the holidays, and the holidays come, and I feel so fortunate. A lot of times, I'll get something in the mail, or a client will come over and they'll give me an envelope, and I'll open it up, and maybe there'll be some cash in it, and this beautiful card. And, I'll call them and I'll tell them to their face, listen, thank you so much. I appreciate the money. We all need money. That I'll pay my bills. I said, but that card you wrote me, 5 years from now, I'll look at that card. And that's what keeps you going.
It's beautiful, man. I love it. I love your passion, Mike. It's so nice to. This is, guys. Remember, this is the first time we've ever talked. We've just been.
I was ready to talk, man. I love the boxing history and growing up in the '70s and all that, and it's just we'll talk again.
We will. We will. You're a good man, and you're a good role model. Even though you didn't tell me what you use for moisturizer cream to look so young, and but no, Mike, it was so good to connect. And
thank you. I so appreciate it.
You know what? I had some people ask me, because usually.
I'm humbled. I look at the list of people you've interviewed, and I'm like, wow.
Well, this is what I was going to get at. I've had people go like, who's Mike Diamond? Like, why are you, like if I invite Rudy on,
he's a Beastie Boy. He's one of the Beastie Boys.
but like most people, like you're kind of like underground. Most people don't know. Most people don't know, like who you are.
There's a lot of people like me.
But I want to talk about you for a second. You can stop deflecting. Let's put the spotlight on you. Right, spotlight. I know you don't like that. But you're a special man who shows up every day. Your messaging is sincere. It's very genuine. And I said, I'm going to use what little reach I have on the internet to expose more people to you and your message, whether they train for you or not. At least follow you, because there's something always positive and a reminder in your story, in your message. There's nothing toxic on your page, and that's why I wanted you on here, because you're a good human. And I want to share.
It was funny. I thought because we messaged back and forth, and then I got an email from you, and it's like, is someone punking me here? Is he pranking me? And then I was like, wait, I think this is real.
That's cute.
But I really appreciate and grateful. And like I said, I've listened to you for many years, and what you do, I'm so respectful of. And thank you for the conversation. I was just appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Mike. So guys, we're gonna wrap now. Remember to sign up for our newsletter. My team posted some links in there. Get on our newsletter. Every couple of weeks, we've finally got this dialed in. We've got a great list of people. We should do that maybe for the next show, Elisa, a little thing teasing people of who the guests are coming up. So
I know my buddy Dave and I was in Malta last July, and I'd been following you through all the COVID, and I was like, if Coach gives a live thing, I'm going. And then you posted that, and I was like, fuck, I'm gone that 2 weeks. And so my buddy Dave, who, he's good friends with Rudy, he invited us to Winter Strong this year.
Right.
So we're going to go in February. But we said, hey, if Coach Blauer is going to do some event again, we're going this year. So
yeah,
nice.
I
hope I see you in person and can sit down together.
For sure. I love it. Okay, man, be safe. So good
thank
to
you.
meet.
Thank you. And stay safe and strong. That's all I could say.
Okay.
Thanks,
awesome.
Coach.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye.
Okay, guys, we're out of here. Be safe. Thank you for tuning in. Please share this, tag your friends. It'll be up online. We don't delete these things. And follow us on YouTube if you can too. We're going to start growing that a lot more. Those of you who did comment, I appreciate that. And I don't think we got to everybody, but we did the best we can. Mike, thanks again. Have a happy
holidays, Coach.
And take care.
You as well. You as well.
Thanks, Elisa.
All right. Thank you.
Elisa, pop on and say hi. Elisa does all the work behind.
Hey,
Elisa makes us all look good. She does all the work behind.
I need that. I need people to make me look good. Thank you again so much.
Okay, guys.
I hope it went well, and you got we reached some people, and
this is for you.
This
is for you. Some excellent stuff in there.
Well,
okay.
I thank you. I'm humbled and grateful. Thanks, Coach.
Be safe, man.
All right. You too.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.